Welcome back to After the Silence. I'm Olivia, and today we're talking about grief through loss. The loss of someone we love through death. This is one of the most recognized forms of grief. And yet, even here, so many people feel completely alone in what they're experiencing. And today, I'm also going to share a little bit of my own story. When we talk about loss, people often expect grief to look, a certain way. They expect the sadness. They expect the tears. They expect something they can recognize. But I'm here to tell you, grief is so much more complex than that. It can look like numbness, like you're moving through life, but not quite fully in it. It can look like anger, confusion, guilt, or you even might have moments of peace or laughter that can catch you off guard. And sometimes that can make people question themselves. Like, should I be feeling this? Is it okay to feel this way? And I want to say this clearly. So hear me. Nothing you feel in grief is wrong. I'm going to say that one more time. Nothing you feel in grief is wrong. For me, grief is something I've known in different ways throughout my life. But one of the most defining losses I've experienced was losing my husband, Kalen, of 18 years. We had just celebrated our 18-year anniversary a couple of months before he died. We built a life together and a family, memories, routines, a shared world that felt known and steady. And when he died by suicide, everything changed. There's this kind of grief that comes with suicide that can feel especially complex. There can be questions. There can be confusion. There can be layers of pain that are hard to put into words. And what I've learned through that experience is that grief doesn't follow rules. There's no protocol. It doesn't show up in the same way every day. It doesn't move in a straight line. Some days it's going to feel heavy, and some days it'll feel quiet. And then some days it can almost feel okay. And then the next moment, you're right back in it. It's like the waves of the ocean. One of the hardest parts of losing someone is that the world keeps moving. People go back to their routines. Life continues, as it should. But you're left feeling how to exist in a world that now feels completely different. And there can also be this unspoken pressure to be okay after a certain amount of time. But grief doesn't follow timelines. It follows love. It follows connection. And when the connection is deep, the grief will be too. And something else I want to speak to, simply because this was part of my own experience, is that there can be this unspoken expectation, not just about when you should be okay, but also about when it's acceptable to move forward or to open your heart again or find love again. And that can bring up a lot. It can bring up guilt, confusion, judgment, both from others and from yourself. Questions like, is it too soon? Or what does this say about how much I love them? Or am I allowed to feel this? And what I've come to understand is that there isn't a timeline or a protocol for when your heart is allowed to open again. Grief and love can exist in the same space. Missing someone and still desiring that connection. Both can be true. Moving forward doesn't mean you're leaving someone behind. It doesn't mean the love you had is gone. It simply means you're just learning how to carry that love while still allowing yourself to live. And at the same time, I also want to honor that for some people, the idea of moving on or loving again, if that doesn't feel possible, that's okay too. There is no right path here. For some, love may come again. For others, it may not. Or it may look completely different than it once did. Neither is more healed. Neither is more right. Your grief gets to be yours and yours alone. You are allowed to feel joy again. You are allowed to feel connection again. You are allowed to feel love again in whatever timing feels true for you. And if that's not where you are allowed to be exactly where you are too. Grief is not a measure of how long you stay stuck. It's a reflection of how deeply you loved. And love, it doesn't end. It just changes form. Grief isn't something to fix. It's just something we learn to carry. And over time, we begin to create space for it in our lives. That might look like letting yourself feel, like really feel what comes up, allowing moments of rest, whatever that looks like. Talking about your person when it feels right. Or simply sitting in silence and honoring what was. You don't have to do grief perfectly because there's no perfect way to do grief. There just isn't. You just have to be willing to be with what's there. So if you're listening to this and you've lost someone, I want you to know you don't have to rush. You don't have to explain your grief to anyone. And most importantly, you don't have to carry it alone. Your experience is valid exactly as it is. This is just the beginning of these conversations around grief. We're going to talk about the kinds of grief that people don't always name, but feel every day. And if today's episode brought anything up for you, just know nothing you felt while listening to this was wrong. Thank you.